Okay, here we go. I'm going to try my best to do this without coughing. Inevitably, I start recording and a cough comes out of nowhere. So, you follow my channel, you're probably following Eric July and the Rippaverse. So, what I'm about to say is nothing new. So, I Sum number one released last year. Great book. I picked that up. Great read. I Sum number two to be, I think it's going to be shipped the 31st of this month. So somewhere after that, I should be receiving I Sum number two. So the next books that's coming for the Rippaverse is Alpha Core and Yaira. So the Saska sisters are working on the script for Yaira. I'm not exactly sure who the artist is going to be on that, but Chuck Dixon, the Chuck Dixon, is writing Alpha Core. And from what I remember, Chuck Dixon is actually creating an original character for the Rippaverse. This is great. Now, there was going to be a reveal for who was to be the artist. Eric July was kind of keeping that close to the hip. He announced it today, which again, if you follow me, I'm sure you follow him, and this is not news. It's Joe Bennett. Now, for those who don't know Joe Bennett, he is most notably known for his work on the Immortal Hulk. Now, I haven't really followed Joe Bennett like that. I've never really been a huge fan of the Incredible Hulk. I know there's some people who are. I fell off from comic books for many years, got back in. I want to say it was right around 2011 or 2012. Somewhere around there, I got back in. I dropped off, I want to say like 1998, somewhere around there, and just did not read comic books for years. I just wasn't impressed with what I was seeing. Just a lot of artists that I really didn't enjoy. A lot of stories that, in my humble opinion, weren't really all that great. So I kind of lost interest. I was in the military at the time. You know the story. I've told this story many times. Anyway, Joe Bennett is going to be doing the art for Alpha Core number one. Now, I don't know if he's going to do the artwork for books after that or if it's just number one. But yo, Eric July and the Rippaverse is really building up a rogues gallery, a good rogues gallery of artists and writers. Like this, this is getting a lot more serious than I thought it was even last year. And I enjoyed ISOM number one, but it seems like he's really getting some top tier talent. Now the stars have aligned and things have worked out in a way that it just brought all this about. I believe, I don't know the full story or why it happened, but I believe Chuck Dixon pretty much canceled, I guess, if that's what you want to say, by most mainstream comic houses, Marvel and DC. And the same thing happened with Joe Bennett. And Joe Bennett's from Brazil. There was a misunderstanding, from what I gather. A comic book that he, one of the Immortal Hulks, he drew something, forgot a letter. People took it the wrong way. He apologized, but you know how it is today. Apologies mean nothing. You can apologize, be sincere, and you will still get canceled, unfortunately. But so the benefit to what we have going on today in culture is Eric July seems to be picking up a bunch of these artists that are either canceled by the mainstream comic houses, or some of these dudes just, they're like, you know what? I'm just not really interested in comics anymore. These major comic houses don't interest me. And it seems like he's using that as an opportunity, and good for him, to pick up some of these premium artists and writers. So what I want to do is I want to go and look at some of the art from Joe Bennett, just to see what we can expect to be brought to the Rippaverse and specifically Alpha Core. So, man, trying to get this out of my throat. So, Joe Bennett has drawn a lot, and he's been around for a while. I want to say he's been in the comic industry for like 25 or 30 years, I believe. So I'm just randomly going through some books, some different things that he's drawn. And this is Green Arrow number 47, and he did the cover. This is a good cover. This is a good cover. He does some good work, some good art. And you know, when I found out who they were getting, I was like, well, let me look into some of his art because I'm not super familiar with him. So let me see. Let me go back a couple pages because I was looking at, okay, so here's his profile, Joe Bennett, Brazilian comic book artist, most notably for Immortal Hulk. And you can go to comics, and that Green Arrow book that I showed, he actually drew the cover. So I've never used this webpage before. It's a League of Comic Geeks. So I guess it goes over different comic book artists, maybe, and writers, and it shows you the different things they worked on and what they did. So here's a comic, black and white. This is from 2018. I'm not sure if Joe Bennett worked on this. I'm going to assume he did. So let's look and see what he did in this book. According to this, Joe Bennett did the variant covers. So I don't know which cover is the variant cover. So let's see. Let's go to this cover right here. Maybe this is the cover he did. And if so, this is pretty good. Yep, I think this is it. I see his signature right there. Let me move it up a little bit so you can see. This is not bad. This is not bad at all. I'm always appreciative of artists that know how to create a dynamic picture. Now, what I mean by a dynamic picture is it's not flat. Some artists draw and you get nothing from the art. There's no, I don't want to say no feeling, but you don't get the sense of motion or action happening. There's a lot of artists that just don't know how to capture that. And it seems like Joe Bennett knows how to capture action with his pencils. And that's something I greatly appreciate, because if it's one thing I hate is opening a book and seeing an action sequence and it doesn't feel like an action sequence. I really don't like that. So excuse me, I'm doing a bunch of jumping around, just trying to find all the different covers and books that Joe Bennett has worked on, just finding the ones that, interesting to me. So Captain America, I guess he worked on Captain America. Let's see if he did the covers or the interiors. So let's take this cover. Looks decent. I like the way this cover right here looks. And I think I see his name right there. So I don't know if he drew this cover. Let's see. So yeah, he did. Now, and this is something that I really appreciate. And I'm not a huge fan of having one artist draw the cover and another artist draw the interior. It's dope sometimes if you have the right match of artists, right? Like if Jim Lee, or let's say Todd McFarlane, drew a cover and Jim Lee did the interior, I'm going to be pleased all the way around. But, as I stated in my video about X-Men Days of Future Past #1, I was not really a huge fan of the interior art. It wasn't bad, but I just don't think they got the right person for that job. So this book right here, the cover and the interior, both drawn by Joe Bennett. So, hey, so far so good. I like I like what I'm seeing. So I wonder why this page works like that. It's like I go to one thing and then it takes me all the way back to the home page. I guess I don't mind. Now let's look at another one of these covers. Really, I'm just going through a bunch of art, seeing, who did it, who worked on what. So let's see. Did he do the cover to this one? So this is another Captain America. And it doesn't say... Okay, it says pencils, Joe Bennett. So I'm guessing he did the cover and the interior. Again, not bad. Proportions on Captain America's upper body, a little weird, but yo, what can I say? He draws better than me, so who am I to really complain? And I think for Alpha Core, I think his art will fit. As a matter of fact, I want to say he posted to his Instagram page a picture of what he has drawn for Alpha Core. So I'm going to try to find it here and see if I can pull this up. Let's see if I can do this. I hate trying to pull stuff up while I'm actually doing a video, but I think this is this will be good. Okay, yeah, here it goes. Let me see if I can let me change the web browser I'm using here and you'll be able to see what I'm looking at. It might be a little too big. Let's go to Safari. Okay. Yeah, save. I'm cool with that. All right, so this is his Alpha Core work right here, this picture. And I have to say, that's actually pretty good. That is pretty good. Is it the greatest art I've ever seen in my entire life? Nah, but good art when you see it. It's like I said before, there's some people who I believe need to take a little more time and maybe work on some other things before they get big projects. And the fact that Marvel trusted Joe Bennett with the Immortal Hulk says a lot. This says that can I really say, because some of the artists I see working for Marvel right now, my goodness, not that they're terrible artists, right? I don't want to be super judgmental, but honestly, really and truly, some of these people probably need to spend some more time, maybe on some lower level books before they get into the big leagues, because some of this art I'm seeing from Marvel is really bad. DC, not as bad as Marvel right now, but some of the Marvel art, yeah, they're struggling. So here's another issue of Captain America, and it looks like there's several artists, so I don't know if this is one that was drawn by Joe Bennett, so I'll exit out of that. I'm trying to primarily get to stuff that he drew. So anyway, I got this other page up where it's a bunch of pencils from Joe Bennett, so we can look through some of those as well. And the reason I like to do stuff like this right here, like I said, if you've read the Rippaverse and you've seen Alpha Core, you can imagine how Joe Bennett's pencil work will fit in with Alpha Core. And I think Chuck Dixon writing the story and Joe Bennett doing the drawings, this is a match made in comic book heaven. This really works. This really works. So these are some of his pencils, and the dude got skills. And from what I hear, Immortal Hulk is critically acclaimed. Now, again, I've never been a fan of Incredible Hulk, so no, I have not read the Immortal Hulk story. It's probably good. Might be something I need to go back and pick up. Maybe I'll pick up one digital copy, and if I like it, get some back issues. So here's some more panels from, I'm pretty sure this is more panels from the Immortal Hulk. Respect to Joe Bennett. He's got some skills. The one thing I will say about Eric July, he seems to have a very keen eye for good artists. Because say what you will, if there's one thing, if there's one area where he 100%, my humble opinion, did not disappoint, was the artwork in ISOM #1. Now, some people had complaints about the panels, about some of the writing, the way it flowed. And yo, I'm willing to give him a pass because he's new to making comic books. This is a new venture for him. As much as I'm a comic book fan, if I started a comic book company and I was doing the writing, oh, I can almost guarantee that there's gonna be some errors, at least for 1 or 2 books. There's gonna be some errors, maybe even 3 or 4. Being brand new and having a brand new company, it's not like Eric July started writing for a big content house and thus, some of the editors can maybe catch some things beforehand. He started his own company from the ground up. This is his universe, his characters. So I think there's a little leeway you got to give him. But yo, Joe Bennett, this is a big deal. This is a huge, huge deal. For this reason, Eric July is not getting scrubs. He is, I mean, he's collecting an A-list of artists and writers like some people collect comic books. And this actually might just shake up the industry in a very, very good way.